Hey, what's up, guys? Um, I did not think I would be doing a post-fight video for Danny Jacobs and Gabe Rosado. It was not in my plans. I wanted to see the fight. Um, it was a Friday night fight. Uh, I'm glad it was tonight and we have other fights tomorrow. But man, this fight was so disappointing, man. This fight was so disappointing. This fight was over probably about 40 minutes ago at this point as I do this video. So I've calmed down a bit. But as far as I'm concerned, man, this was a loss for Danny Jacobs, man. As far as his stock and as far as the actual fight. If you are a Danny Jacobs fan, if you're one of these people, if you're one of these people that are, I support my black brothers no matter what. I support my black American brothers no matter what. If you're one of these people, man, you might as well turn away from this video now, because I am not going to be kind to Dan Jacobs in this video. I scored this fight 116 to 114 for Gabe Rosado. Now, I was curious. Well, first off, I sent a tweet to Eddie, to Matchroom, to The Zone, and I tagged Danny Jacobs, and I said, release Danny Jacobs immediately. He is robbing you blind. I never want to see him fight again. All right? And that's how I feel. As far as I'm concerned, Danny Jacobs is no longer a fighter. He is just a tall, athletic guy who is showing up to collect a check. That's what I think about Danny Jacobs at this point. From this performance, I'm on his resume right now. I believe this guy has probably made, at minimum, $20 million with Eddie promoting him. After the Triple G fight, he signed his deal with Eddie, and I believe he probably got the last HBO contract. He had a 3-fight deal with HBO. I think in one of these fights, I think I saw he made maybe $3 million. He might have made $3 million in each fight. So let's assume so. All right, for Luis Arias, Selecki, and Derevchenko, let's just say he made $3 million a fight. All right, he might have had a 3-fight, $9 million contract. All right, I don't know if that's the case, but I'm just saying I probably could search it and find out. All right, then the Canelo fight, I think they said he made $10 million in that fight. So that was the number that I remember. So let's say he probably was up to like 19 million maybe at that point. And then the Chavez Jr. fight, that's another fight where he would have made probably $1 to $3 million. So that's maybe like 22 million in the Gabe Rosado fight. Maybe that was $1 million fight. This guy has probably made at least 20 million or more with Eddie, man. And the Arias and Selecki fight, I didn't even watch those fights. Who cared? All right. Derevchenko, I thought he lost that fight. I thought he got a gift in that fight. All right. Canelo clearly won that fight. Wide, I think I had that 118, 110 or some shit like that. The Chavez fight. When Chavez actually let his hands go, he was looking kind of decent against Jacobs, but Chavez has no heart, and is a quitter, so whatever. All right, that we're not gonna count that as a huge win. All right, and he basically picked a quitter. At that point, Chavez was a quitter, no surprise. And Gabe Rosado, this was a fight that was supposedly built off bad blood. Gabe Rosado, I have said in the past, could not win the big fight. Whenever he steps up to a big name, he doesn't win. I don't even know what the biggest win of his career is. You know, um, so this was a supposed bad blood fight, and he was getting a easy payday off of. Where he was a minus 2,500 favorite. Where he was favored more than a minus 200, more than a minus 200 to get a stoppage on Gabe Rosado, man. And I was saying to myself privately, if Danny Jacobs don't stop this guy, if he don't look impressive against this guy, this would be a loss for Danny Jacobs, man. In my opinion, regardless of what happens, it'll be a loss with him being such a big favorite in this fight. And officially, he got a split decision victory over this guy, man. I was hoping Gabe Rosado got the decision in this fight. I think he deserved the decision. And I feel bad for the guy, that the ring announcer, who usually does a good job. He's going to say from Philadelphia and then say Dan Jacobs. That was terrible, man. I wanted Gabe Rosado to get the decision in this fight. He deserved it. Hell, he was more of the fighter in the fight. And I want to say it now before I forget, because I went back to check. The Zone did not even put up the punch stats for this fight. At one point they said that Gabe Rosado was outlanding Danny Jacobs. And I said, let me go back, because I don't remember seeing them put up, say, the fight stats. They did not say what the fight stats were, man. Danny Jacobs is one of their, somebody they have on the contract, one of their more named fighters, with Eddie, with Matchroom, the headliner for the event. And it seemed that they got it there with the victory with Danny Jacobs, man. And I totally disagree. Now, I'm not going to cry a river for Gabe Rosado, because he could have done more also. As Eddie said in his tweet, let me read it now. The MC mistake was the highlight of that fight. I felt neither deserved to win, with exclamation point. All right, so clearly Eddie is not happy or pleased with either Danny Jacobs or Gabe Rosado, but this is kind of big to me, because he has always been complimentary of Danny Jacobs, man. I have never seen him speak ill of Danny Jacobs. I feel this is a little bit more harsh towards Gabe Rosado, because I felt that he did deserve the win. But he could have done more also, man. He could have let his hands go more. He could have taken more chances. And I was thinking that if this fight went to a decision, I felt that regardless of what happened, I felt that Gabe Rosado was going to do like he has done in the past. I won that fight. I didn't win that fight. He was going to whine about the decision, right? Like he did with Martin Murray when he went over to the UK to fight him. And he was upset about that decision. I came on here and I was laughing at Gabe Rosado, saying, what do you expect? You over there in that man's country, and you going to a decision, having a boxing match with the guy. The same thing applies tonight. Danny Jacobs is the headliner. He is the name fighter. If the fight goes to the scorecards, you would think that it would be more in his favor. You fighting on his promoter's show, on his streaming platform. What do you expect? You expect to get a clean decision? You should expect that, hey, I could possibly get robbed. I need to do the most that I can. And he could have let his hands go more also, man. There were lots of times in this fight where Danny Jacobs had his left hand down. Gabe Rosado should have been throwing overhand rights at Danny Jacobs, man, pressing the action even more. Danny Jacobs was just content going to a decision, not letting his hands go, getting out of the ring healthy and collecting a check, as far as I'm concerned. There was no urgency to knock out Gabe Rosado, to let his hands go. He just wanted to show up, collect a check, and go home healthy to his family, man. That's all it was. And it was so bad It was so bad, and I think this may be the first time I have ever heard this, uh, ever since I've been watching boxing, man. I don't know who Dan Jacobs' trainer is, but this guy flat out asked him if he bet the fight, man. Asked Danny Jacobs if he bet this fight. You know, and as I was watching the fight, I didn't even cross my mind, you know, that something like that could have happened. I have said things like that in the past after certain fights. You know, asked if guys put their money on a decision or put their money this way, that way, played the fight this way, that way. But I wasn't even thinking about it, man. And after he said that, I was like, you know what? That makes sense, man. Because, you know, it's kind of funny. Today, I was listening to the Boxing Voice, and Ness pointed out how Dan Jacobs was, you could have got like a plus 200 on Dan Jacobs to win that fight by decision. Now think about it. You know, if Danny Jacobs was to put, a good chunk of money on him winning by decision, you know, he would what? I mean, hell, would double his money. You know? So if he put, let's just say, for example, if he put 100,000 on a plus 200, then what? Wouldn't he win 200,000 and then get his 100,000 back? You know, for a total of 300,000. You know, and that's just an example I'm using, man. You know, and I'm like, first off, I mean, for his trainer to say that, I mean, that would make me think that maybe he knows Dan Jacobs does bet fights, that he is a gambling man. You know, I mean, because if he knew that he wasn't, or if he didn't think that Dan Jacobs would do such a thing, why would he say that? Why would he even suggest that and say it out loud? You know, that's kind of a fireable offense if you ask me. Yeah, Dan Jacobs, because I went back, I was like, let me, I want to see Dan Jacobs' face when the guy asked him that question, and the guy asked him, he was like, did you bet this fight? Did you bet this fight? He pointed at him, and Dan Jacobs was like, huh? He kind of turned his head to the side like, huh? He was like, no, you know. I'm telling you, man, hell, the Florida Athletic Commission or whoever sanctioned this fight, they probably should look in to see if he did bet the fight, man. If he did bet the fight to go to a decision and didn't put in the effort. Hell, if he would have just played the fight to go to a decision, he would have made, he could have got great odds on that, man. You know, I think well over a plus 200. Yeah. For that fight to go to a decision. You know? So, who knows? Maybe the trainer brought up a great point, man. Maybe Dan Jacobs did do it. Who knows? You know, but this was a stock plummeting performance from Danny Jacobs, man. I am not interested in watching Dan Jacobs fight again. I am not interested in I'm not interested in seeing the guy fight again, man. You know, as far as I'm concerned, Eddie and DAZN, they need to let him go back to PBC, man. You know, just release him from his contract, let him go to PBC and let him fight David Benavidez and Caleb Plant, and, you know, get smoked by them kind of guys. You know, I don't want to see Dan Jacobs fighting Billy Joe Saunders. Man, that would be a terrible fight, man. I bet Billy Joe probably saying this is probably chomping at the bit to fight Danny Jacobs, man, but that's a dreadful ass fight, man. You know, Billy Joe staying on the outside, boxing. You know, Dan Jacobs content with doing the same thing. That's a dreadful fight, man. I do not want to see that fight. You know, who else? He don't want to fight Demetrius Andrade, you know, claiming that they boys or whatever. You know, no need to see him fight Canelo again. You know, that was a blowout. You know, if Callum Smith was to come out victorious from a Canelo fight and probably a rematch, which I doubt. I'm not picking him to be Canelo. But I'm not clamoring to see him fight Callum Smith either. I'm not clamoring to see Dan Jacobs fight anybody, man, after their performance. That was a stock dropping, performance, man. No fighter in the guy, just content with boxing, not getting hit, not taking damage, and collecting a check. More than happy to go to a decision, man. That's what I think about Dana Jacobs. So yes, I feel Gabe Rosado should have got a decision. As the fight was nearing the end, the last couple of rounds, I looked at my scorecard and I said, man, Dan Jacobs need a knockout to win this fight. And let me give you my round by round score. I did not take notes because I didn't think I'd have to take notes for this fight. I thought that there would be stoppage in this fight one way or the other. And especially, with Dana Jacobs, people question his chin in the past. This was Gabe Rosado's opportunity, man, to win a big fight on a guy who some have said, not me, but some have said had chin issues. He should have been going after Dan Jacobs, man. He should have been putting the pressure on the guy. And if he would have been more active in the fight, I think he definitely could have got a decision. And maybe could have scored a knockdown on the guy. If not, stopped him, So round 1, I had 10-9 Rosado. Round 2, 10-9 Jacobs. Round 3 was even. Round 4, 10-9 Jacobs. Round 5, even. Round 6, 10-9 Rosado. Round 7, 10-9 Jacobs. Let's see, rounds 8, 9, 10, and 11. I scored them all for Gabe Rosado. All right. 8, 9, 10, 11. I gave all those to Gabe Rosado. And the final round I gave to Dana Jacobs, 10-9. That came out to 116, 114 for Gabe Rosado. That's how I saw the fight, guys. Really, I think I've covered everything. I think that is about it. Dan Jacobs just robbing Eddie blind, man. Eddie wanted to make a splash in America. He was kind of one of the first, I think one of the first American signings that he had, if not the first. Before the Zone, when Eddie was actually wanting to become exclusive with HBO, and they did not do it. Ultimately stopped doing boxing. But he gave him 2 easy fights to start off with Arias and Selecki. He ain't got him the title fight with Derevchenko. I thought he lost that fight. All right. Then after that, after the Zone deal, he got him a big money fight with Canelo in the unification. Lost that fight. Then he chose when he decided to go up to 168. He got a big name, soft touch. A guy, a known quitter in Chavez Jr. He got that fight, all right. And then he had another easy fight in Gabe Rosado. So, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see, 4 out of his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4 out of his 6 fights with Eddie have been, fights where he has been a huge favorite in, man. Easy fights for Dan Jacobs. He robbing Eddie blind, man. He is robbing Eddie blind. Eddie needs to cut ties with Dan Jacobs, let him go back to PBC and Al Heyman, and let him make smaller money fighting the likes of a David Benavidez and Caleb Plant. I was sitting there saying to myself, Dan Jacobs getting paid all this money fighting for Matchroom in the Zone when Eddie, one of the worst mistakes he made, in my opinion, he let Michael Hunter go. Michael Hunter don't give out disappointing fights. Michael Hunter lets his hands go, man. Michael Hunter shows up to fight, has action fights, and he has fight in him, man. This the kind of guy who needs to be on the roster, getting paid. Not Dan Jacobs, in my opinion. So, I think that is pretty much it, guys. Dan Jacobs has made all his money in his career, man. He's probably made at least $20 million with Eddie, and then he got paid. I think he got paid like maybe $3 million fighting Triple G. Man, this guy's made a killing in his career, man. This guy's probably made at a minimum $25 million in his career, man. And I ain't even counting everything before that. You know, Sergio Moro, Peter Quill, and all these fights. You know, this guy's probably made between 25 and 30 million easily in his career. He's just showing up to collect a check, man, and go home safe to his family. That's the way I see it. No urgency for a knockout. Just showing up to get paid, man. I think that's it, guys. You know, let me know what you think. Dan Jacobs, you can go, man. I don't need to see you fight no more. I don't. This was a boring snooze fest. This was supposed to be bad blood. Ooh, these guys hate each other. They just gonna be a knockout. It's gonna be a war. You know, this I bet this, as far as Eddie goes, this ranks up with the Luis Ortiz Malik Scott fight. It ranks up there with the British beef turned into British love fight. You know, this fight for Eddie, I bet, goes into the category with those fights that had the hype, main event, and then ultimately was a disappointment. This fight wasn't even co-main event worthy. This could have been third on the card, man. It was that bad. So, feel bad for Gabe Rosado. I thought he won the fight. I thought he should have got a decision. I wish he would have got a decision, because it would have been a big-time embarrassment for Dan Jacobs. It's still embarrassing because a guy you that big of a favorite over, you should not go to a decision with. You definitely should not be getting a split decision with that kind of guy. So, that's it, guys. Let me know what you think, and I'll check in soon. Thanks for watching.